Lauren, thanks for joining.
Cool. Oh, thanks for having me.
How are you?
Yeah. I'm doing good. Yeah. Pretty good. Just busy and, trying to navigate this crazy world we're in.
As an artist, you always have these existential, is it even worth it? But it is. Just because it's not something you can necessarily quantify, there is a real impact. I think the world will be a much more depressing place without artists.
Yeah, and I think the older I get, the reason that I'm making the work changes and like my perception about how I fit into the world changes and that changes the work. So it's interesting. It's like an interesting time in my life. So yeah.
What could you maybe unpack that a little bit and just talk about the sort of changes you've seen recently in your work and in yourself?
Sure. Yeah, so well, I'm in my 40s, like early 40s now. So, there's this time like when you first finish like grad school as an artist and you're first coming on the scene and it's really exciting. And I think people are also experiencing your work for the first time. And um, I've been very fortunate to have like a lot of opportunities in my life and like um but and so for me at least, I sort of got swept up in this trajectory of shows and projects and um careers are funny. Like careers go up and down. I think it's like we think of it as like the tide rolls in and out, things come and go, and the I think the older I get, the more mature I maybe I'm getting more mature, hopefully. That like my reason for making the work changes and like how I see my role in the world has changed a lot. And like the people around me um, have become really important to me. It's like friends and family. Whereas like in my younger days, maybe I spent more time chasing a career and chasing, locking myself in my studio for hours and days and weeks and never coming out. And yeah, the reason I make the work has changed because I think my relationships have changed. And so don't know if that makes
I
sense.
relate to that completely. I think I'm in probably a very similar phase in terms of, I mean, I'm in my early 40s now. I got out of grad school in 2013. I moved to New York right away, and there was a different energy. It was all about everything, the career, the art, your work was the most important thing, and everything else was less important.
Yeah, and I think I'm married to Nicholas Monick, but we don't have kids. So I think maybe for someone who has kids, like they experience this same thing in a different way with their kids, and they have someone younger to like mentor and pour into. But for me, it's been more about like finding more maturity like in my relationships with my friends and like my family and like extended family and Nicholas's family. So, yeah, it's yeah.
I found that my relationship with my body has changed, and you
Mm.
can't pull the all-nighters anymore. You can't, you can't abuse your body in the same way you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, Nicholas and I both stopped drinking and all types of substances like for almost 2 years now. So, it was something that happened kind of organically, but it feels really good. So,
Oh yeah, you feel good.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like for me, a party is getting up at 5 in the morning, taking an ice bath, and then having a coffee. Like that's a good time. And then you have the whole
That's
day,
cool.
and it's such a beautiful time of day. Nobody's up. It's interesting looking at myself from my 30-year-old perspective. I would have been just not mortified necessarily, but utterly baffled by this kind of lifestyle. I never would have. I was up. I was staying up till 2, 3 in the morning all through grad school, just painting all night. And there's a reminds me of this
Yeah.
conversation. Do you know Richard Linklater, the director?
Yeah. Mhm.
I just recently saw the movie Boyhood. Have you seen that?
Yes, that's the one where it follows the life of one person,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The like from like and
It's like
it's but
10
it's
years.
real.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw it in the theater when it came out. It was really good.
it's so good. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But he was saying in an interview that in his 20s, if he was on a boat and the negatives fell out of the boat and his best friend fell out of the boat, he would have saved the negatives. You know?
I relate to that. Oh man, that's painful to think about. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. In grad school, a friend of mine was having a birthday party and I didn't go. And she was like, "Why didn't you come to my birthday party?" And I was like, "Why would I? I'm in the studio, of course."
Yeah, I totally relate to that. I think, and also I think I'm just naturally pretty introverted. So, it's like very comfortable for me to be by myself and
Yeah.
fun. Like I enjoy it. So, but it can be like looking back, I'm like, oh, that was very selfish of me in some parts of my life.
We're here to learn.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think and yeah, my relationships, I think I get more out of them now, like in ways that I didn't like when I was younger. So,
Maybe you have to go through a phase like that as an artist to get to where you are now. You know what that produces. You grew up in Georgia, right?
mhm. Yeah, I grew up in Atlanta, like outside Atlanta.
And then went to SCAD for undergrad,
Yeah, I went to school at SCAD for undergrad in Savannah. They have two campuses, or they have multiple campuses now, but I was in Savannah.
the main campus,
Yeah, and their
and you
original campus.
the original
Mhm.
campus. Yeah, and you thought it was a good school.
I did, yeah. It it was good for me, and I feel grateful that I got to go there. Yeah. I had some great professors like Craig Drennan. I don't know if you know
I
Craig's
do know
work.
him. Yes.
He was amazing. Yeah, really. I feel like I owe a lot to Craig Drennan, Michael Brown, Suzanne Jackson, has a show right now at the SF MoMA.
Oh,
It's
cool.
really amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
yeah, I had a great experience there.
Yeah. Oh, good, good. And then you went to VCU for grad school.
Yeah, I was at VCU from 2005 to 2007.
So
So
did you go right into grad school?
I took a year off in between undergrad and grad school and lived in Atlanta, and just just to sort of collect my thoughts after
Yeah.
undergrad and then yeah, apply and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think that's healthy. Have a little bit of a break and maybe work some jobs you know you don't want to do for the rest of your life.
yeah, I was working like four jobs. Yeah, like teaching art at art centers and also like coffee shops. So yeah.
Yeah, same. So then in VCU, you were where did you go for sculpture?
I was there for painting. I was in the painting department, but I was making sculpture basically the whole time. So even when I finished undergrad at SCAD, I was basically making sculptural paintings. Um, the work I finished when I was at SCAD or when I was finishing SCAD, the work I was making was mostly large drawings, but the paper would sort of like curl and like flop off the wall, and I was making small sculptures that attached onto the drawings that looked like kind of modular like devices or some sort of like modernist utopian kind of uh what's the word like appliance or something. So they've always sort of related to like architecture and then also interacting with like architecture, but sort of ethereal modernist references. So
So not dissimilar from the work you're making now.
there's definitely some roots, yeah, going back even to undergrad.
The way you're describing it, I'm looking at the work on your wall right now. I'm fortunate that we're in
Hmm.
your studio and I can see your stuff, and it's just so beautiful. I'm
Oh,
utterly
thank you.
transported by
Thank you.
and I think it's very singular. I like that I don't really know, I can't quite picture the process. Generally, when I see a painting, I'm like, oh, I can kind of see how I would make that painting or sculpture or most things, but there's a real mystery in how you're making these things. I wonder if you could walk us through maybe a bit of the process.
Sure. Yeah, I spent a long time drawing. So before I start a piece, because they are sculptural, I do have to plan a lot, and like determine how it's going to be made. So I do spend a long time drawing and like generating ideas. Um, I usually once I have a drawing, I make a template that I like scale it up. I like adjust anything. I have a large format printer that I'll use to make templates and like pattern like basically a template that I use for cutting and for scaling things. But Yeah, they're made out of high density urethane, which is like basically like it's a high density foam, but it's like I feel like it's more akin to like carving or like sculpting medium. It's very similar to the way I can carve it is very similar to like the way you would carve wood. So it's like high density urethane. It has a backing of a aluminum composite panel. So they have like a aluminum back. And then yeah, they're cut out. I carve them by hand. Um, yeah, finish them by hand, and then they're gessoed and painted with oil paint. The ones in here anyway are, yeah.
So when you carve them, do you have you said you have a template that you work from based on a drawing?
Ye yeah, I spend a long time making drawings and sort of planning out the way it's going to look, but I do make changes as I'm working on them. But yeah, mainly the template is just for scaling. So I'll start with small drawings and then I'll scan it and then enlarge it and make changes and then use that printout to cut to make it like like a pattern to cut the
S-
material.
So then you're cutting into it. How difficult is it to cut into?
Um, it's a bit laborious. It is like a bit strenuous because I'm carving in the same way like a wood carver would carve. I'm using uh chisels and like a scoop, like a wood carving like scoop hand tools to carve and then rasps and sanding, lots of sanding. Many hours of sanding. Like can't
Yeah.
underestimate the amount of
Yeah.
sanding that goes into these. Um, but yeah, and then but they're related to painting. I mean, my background is in painting, so there's always this sort of push-pull between illusion and physicality that I'm interested in. So,
They're just utterly beautiful. And I think it would be a lot different if you made them with a machine. I think that
yeah,
it wouldn't come through this sort of the intention.
thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just looking over my shoulder trying to remember what you're seeing behind me. But yeah, there is an element of the viewer that I don't think a machine can take into consideration. Like if I were having, it would be possible technically to have these like routed, CNC routed or 3D printed or something. But there's something that happens like when I'm carving them where I'm actually like walking around them and moving around them the same way the viewer will eventually. And I'm thinking about the shifts in perception and how those shifts happen as the viewer moves around the piece. And I do make changes as I'm working on them. So yeah.
And it slows it down too, right? So that
hmm
you can make changes.
Sometimes I don't really know how they're gonna work out. Like I don't have every part of it planned out before I start on the piece, and then I'm just making decisions as I'm going. So
It comes through the sense of exploration or the sense of figuring it out, but slowly. And I think there's a real emphasis on quickness these days. I had a conversation recently with Julie Curtis. We were talking about the difference between like fast and slow painting, and she related it to fast fashion, right? It's like slow paint, like
of
everything's like art now is like fast art.
Yeah, totally. Especially like when you get on that train of like having shows back to back and like people want stuff like and dealers have no idea how long it takes to make something. Like I love of course I love and need dealers in my life, but like I think a lot of them don't really understand the actual physical process of like making an object and like how long even an idea has to incubate before you can just start making something. Like I can't just I mean, at least I can't just sort of like whip out a new idea like within a day and start working on something new. I need some like time to like sit with an idea and like mull it over and develop it. So, yeah.
That's the culture now, I think, is that where everything is fast and it's very product oriented. So it's difficult, I think, if you do something slowly and thoughtfully, you're going against the culture in a sense.
Yeah, totally. And I think my best work comes after periods of inactivity, I think. Um, and I think it's something that's really underestimated for an artist and um it's almost like you have to get to the point of like being bored. I know that sounds weird, but like come after I finish a show and I need a break and like I'll have a period of not wanting to be in the studio at all. And then I'm just like I'm relaxing, but then I'm like I'm just bored. Like I need to make something and like then that's like where the best ideas come. So
That's great you
yeah.
mentioned that. I think we're losing that. We're losing. You can really literally never be bored in your life. There's so many
Yeah.
distractions and things to get into and this and that, and we're so stimulated in the culture.
Yeah, totally. I mean, my parents, like I think I learned a lot of that from my parents because there were just constant projects happening in my house. Everyone sort of was doing their own thing. Both my parents are artists in their own way. Like my mom was a ceramicist and my father was a photographer. And my brother now also is like a woodworker. Like he makes carvings and furniture. But so my house growing up was just kind of constant, like kind of chaos, like and everybody's working on their own stuff. And yeah, like growing up in that you sort of just have to learn how to entertain yourself and like have your own thing that you're doing. So yeah.
But would you say there's a spiritual component in your work?
Oh yeah, definitely. Pretty much all of my work is related to spirituality. And that I can say that going back to undergrad, like that was the source of all of the work. Um, my um, personal relationship to God and like the spiritual aspect of my life has like changed over time. So lately, I think there was a long time like from like finishing grad school, so like 2008 to like 2023. It was always still about spiritual things, but like I think I was really like searching and I think the work has always sort of been about like that feeling of like searching for God and like trying to understand my relationship to him. A lot of the work like I've talked about over especially like the last like 10 years, I've sort of mentioned this feeling of like trying to create a feeling of like standing on the threshold of the spiritual realm and like that desire to enter in, but like it being obstructed somehow. And like over, so like around like the work I was making like 2019, 2020, there were a lot of like doorways, but they're usually obstructed. And there's always this sort of feeling of like, this desire to step into this other place, but not being able to. Um, and I also make a lot of like large installations, with wallpaper and creating like an environment. And there is always this desire, like I've always had this desire to kind of create this sort of unearthly realm. I like this kind of feeling of standing on something like supernatural or yeah, unearthly. So. Yeah, the work has always been about that. So
So maybe creating an experience where you're looking at some unearthly vista.
yeah, or like the even just creating that feeling of desire to be able to step into or step out of the kind of like earthly realm. And that even just the feeling that there is something beyond this, like that we're in the physical, but there is like there I do believe this. Like I'm not just blowing smoke. Like there's another realm beyond this that is not seen. And that idea of like fixing your eyes on the unseen realm rather than the earthly realm, because this life is temporary, and it's going to pass away, but there's a realm beyond this that is eternal. So yeah.
Yeah, you were saying that you have some other work you're doing that is more spiritual in nature, and you feel like there's not
Yeah.
you feel like it might not be well received by the art world.
Yeah, for sure. I think even this conversation that we're having right now sometimes like makes me wonder if I'll be pigeonholed or like dismissed or something. But then at the same time, there's so many artists who talk about their spiritual life. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I do kind of wonder sometimes how receptive the art world would be to me really just going whole ham and just fully talking about um the real source of my work and like what it really is about. And I've been trying to a little bit on my Instagram, but I think it's probably pretty subtle.
Could you
I
describe
don't
that?
know. Um, well, let's see. There've been um sorry, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Um, we go through life and I think everybody sort of gets to periods in their life where they don't like know what's happening or like don't know how to predict the future. And um like for me, like though I've experienced this many times this past couple years, um, where I need to be like kind of fully reliant on God. And he does show up. And it's the craziest thing, like the way he shows up and the way he speaks and um how he works through other people in my life. And um, sometimes he speaks in dreams. Sometimes he'll speak in like words or phrases, and those are things that like stick with me, and I'll like mull over, and I see him working and show up in sort of miraculous timing, and that the work has. I'm sorry, I'm very being very vague, but like there's a piece that I made recently called "Honey in the Rock," and it's like this idea that like that God can show up in like impossible circumstances. Like honey in the rock is like honey is something that's like sweet and ha we can get sustenance from, but like and a rock is like a rock. Like it doesn't have anything naturally, it doesn't occur. But this sort of like competing uh idea, this like kind of faith that you have that you can develop for his provision. So yeah, I don't know if that explains, helps make sense.
No.
We can
I'm
cut
trying.
that out.
No. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I know it does make more sense now. The art world can be very it's true. It can be very dismissive of spiritual ideas. I think art is
No.
much more of a spirit in the domain of spirituality than hard science, for sure, than physical science.
Yeah, totally. And I think people are, especially people in the art world, like they might not realize it, but they're looking for an experience with something outside of themselves and like a spiritual experience, like whether or not they're conscious of it. So, um, and I think it's like for an artist, it's like it's more accepted to be critical and to be pessimistic and to be jaded. Like if I were saying something critical about like faith or like it would be way more accepted. But if the minute I'm like sincere, it's like people kind of give you the side eye.
It's true. Who was it that said we're spiritual beings having a human experience rather than the other way around?
Um,
Uh, Ram Dass or
yeah, I think
somebody.
that yeah, I think
Um,
that's pretty good.
I'm sure
Yeah.
many people have said that, I'm sure, but that does seem to be more the case. And Jack Kornfield, also do you know the meditator, the meditation teacher?
Mm,
Do you know Ajahn Chah? He was a famous Thai monk.
no.
He was a teacher. Anyway, it's a whole there's a whole basically there's a group of people that are partially responsible for introducing meditation to the West back in like this, I want to say 60s, 70s. Jack Kornfield is here in Salzburg, Joseph Goldstein. Now they're maybe in their 70s or 80s. Jack Kornfield would say, how did you get in there? How it's true. You look at like how did you get in that body? Think about it. Think deep, think about it. And what are you really?
Yeah.
Who are
Yeah,
you?
it's like yeah. It's like yeah, that question has like driven people to do some really extreme things. Um but I think that I mean, I believe that we sort of have this inherent understanding of it. We just, whether or not we accept it is another story. Like I personally like believe there's like one God, creator God, and like pretty much all of us are searching for that relationship with him. And like whether you feel some people, and I've done this in my life, like gone after other things, like tried to find him through like psychedelics or meditation or alcohol or fame or um, love or sex or whatever. Like there's a lot of ways you can try to like fill that hole. But I think ultimately it's like most people are trying to, like it's a relationship with the divine that we're like searching for. So, yeah.
I've been on this Northern Renaissance quest lately, and I mean, whether the makers of those paintings were very spiritual is up for debate, but it's almost like the making of it was the spiritual act. It's a kind of like a very deep meditation and a deep connection, and it's so slow, and there's a real meaning, and you can see the way in which they're embedding meaning in the work, in the way they're working.
Yeah.
And the stories, of course, are all taken from biblical stories. Well, at least up to a point. There was commissions for there was portraits and other things like that, but there was really a shift that happened after, after the late medieval period where it became the narrative sort of changed. And I think I mean, we just love stories. We're creatures that thrive on narrative, right? And to have meaning and to have I think a lot of people have lost that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's a reason why those stories have been so important for hundreds, thousands of years, because they do have a lot of wisdom and value. And like, yeah, those paintings are absolutely incredible. And like the way the Northern Renaissance painters are using light and symbolically and physically, like with the way they use oil paints for the first time, like, oh man, they're amazing.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
alive. Those paintings live.
Yeah.
They still live. And to see those,
Yeah. I took when I was at SCAD, I took a Northern Renaissance painting class where we made a replica of a Northern Renaissance painting.
which
And
ones did
it
you
from,
do?
oh man, I'm gonna get in trouble now because I can never remember their name. His name. Was it Memling? Go ahead.
I love Hans Memling. Yeah, I went to the Hans Memling Museum in Bruges this summer.
I actually saw it. I saw the original. So I spent an entire semester making this reproduction of this painting. And then when like a year or two later, I was in London and I saw it in real life, like the actual original in real life at the National Gallery. And it's so cool because, the paint, there's so many layers of paint and like my reproduction, like the paint had built up in the same areas, like just from the process of making the painting, like all the layers of glazing. So it was cool. It was very surreal.
That's
It's
awesome.
it's hanging at my mom's house now.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Yeah, when
Yeah.
I saw you not too long, I saw you a few weeks ago at an opening, and you showed me a Fra Angelico that was on your phone. Did you
Yeah.
Did you stay in
Um,
Florence? You
I
visit
have been to
Florence?
Florence. Yeah, I love Florence. Oh yeah, we talked about it. It's at the monastery, right? The
In San Marco? Is that
yes,
what it's
I
called?
think
Right.
so. Yeah, it's a little somehow, I mean, there's so much to see in Florence. Somehow I didn't actually see those Fra
Same.
Angelicos.
Same. Yeah, we had this discussion. I didn't see him either.
Yeah, but they're incredible. There's another one that's it's like Christ on the green background and he's like blindfolded and it's the mocking of it's supposed to represent like his mocking before the crucifixion. Do you know what I'm talking
It's
about?
in the monastery also?
Um,
Is it also a
yes.
fresco?
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I want to go back to Florence just so I can see those.
Same. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it'd
and
be worth it.
the reason I was actually looking at those Fra Angelicos this summer was because at the monastery, he was painting them inside the cells, and all the cells had vaulted ceilings. So all of the frescoes are painted within arched niches in the wall, so that all of the compositions fit within these arched walls. You know what I mean? The niche in
Yeah.
the wall that they're painted are
They were painted
arched.
for those walls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're like the composition, like making a composition within an arch was something that I was thinking a lot about this summer, so I was really looking at those. So,
Oh, I see. So is that what we're seeing in your studio? I see like there are windows with arches.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of the work I was making this summer, they have the tops are arches. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful
So
shape.
yeah, it's a very timeless shape. It's very satisfying. Yeah.
Truly, it transports you into this cathedral space, and you can see why certain shapes and certain architectural forms and shapes within paintings were utilized for spiritual ppurposes.
Yeah, totally. And the geometry they're using. Yeah, and um yeah, it's been fun. It's also like it's sort of nice to have a starting place when you're making like shaped works like I am, I'm not like a normal painter that has like a rectangle like to start with. Like I'm starting from scratch, so I'm making shaped works. So it was sort of nice to have like a parameter to start within, like an arch, to make the decision to start with an arch. Yeah.
So you know, like this shape is going to have an arch on at the top, and then you can kind of work from that point.
Yeah, for these works, I'm not doing that
Yeah,
every time, but for
yeah.
these, yeah. Yeah.
But you might start with a drawing as well, like a colored pencil drawing. Is that right?
Um, Sometimes. I mean, I'm developing ideas like I'm drawing, but then at a certain point I'll make a color study. Like when I kind of land on a form and then I'll make a color study of the work sometimes before I make start making the sculpture. But I also make drawings that just exist as drawings. Those are more kind of like ethereal like drawings.
So the drawings that I've seen that you might have posted are drawing. Those aren't sketches. Those are drawings that are their own work.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. They sort of stand alone on their like they're not plans necessarily for sculptures.
That makes sense. Yeah, I get it. But there's so so how long would you say it takes to make a medium-sized work from start to finish?
Well, I'm usually working on multiple pieces at the same time. So, um, man, I think if I from start to finish, at least 2 months to work to finish a
A
sculpture,
couple
like at
hundred hours,
least.
maybe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I was talking to a painter, Marisa Edisman. Do you know her? She just had
I
a
don't think
recent
so.
she just had a recent show. I didn't know her. I met her she had an opening at Not Egby a couple months ago, and these paintings are extremely they're like figurative paintings, extremely like realist paintings. And she pointed at one painting. She's like, "Oh yeah, that took me 600 hours to make that." It was like a smaller painting. It showed though. She
Wow.
was talking about cutting down her brushes so they were one hair. Whatever time, effort you put into it on a consciousness level, it gets absorbed into the work and is reflected back to the viewer, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. And I think the more like time you invest in like the details of the work, like yeah, it has that feeling of like invested, like value. Yeah.
You can feel it.
Hmm.
I had a friend who was working for Neri Ward, and he was saying that he was standing something, or he was suggesting to Neri Ward, like, maybe we could just use a machine for this. It'd be a lot easier and faster. And he said no. He refused and said that people wouldn't that from like an energetic perspective, you had to actually do the physical sanding by hand. And I he said this to me at the time. I was like, oh, that's stupid. This is like years ago. But then later I realized, oh, actually there is something to that.
Yeah, definitely. You can feel the hand.
You feel it.
And yeah. Yeah, and I want my works to feel like handmade objects. Like I know there's a possibility to make them look machine made or um more like perfect. But I think yeah, I want that kind of invested hand feeling, handmade feeling.
Absolutely. It's a different thing. If you're making something with
Yeah.
a machine, you've taken something out of it on a consciousness level. You're really embedding this intention into it. And the way that you talk about the spiritual component in your work, are you putting this spiritual intention into it? And
Yeah, there's something go ahead.
I was just gonna say,
Uh,
how might that translate?
Yeah, there's something about waiting too. And like we were saying, we expect everything fast and immediate. But like there's something about being willing to like wait for the answer and like letting it develop on its own organically through the process. Like like I said, I don't know how much it comes across in the work, but there are a lot of decisions that I make as I'm making the work that I don't, without that kind of time element, I wouldn't be the same thing at all. You know, like the drawing, when the drawing leaves my drawing board, it's one thing, but what the work that actually emerges is something else, like through that process of time and making it. So,
I'm glad you bring that up because there's been something I've been thinking about a lot too lately is just what the time does and how much space to give something.
yeah.
The fact that you're working at multiple one pieces at once, do you maybe get to a point where you're not quite sure and then you move on to another one and then go back to the one?
Yeah, totally. And there's never an end to the amount of sanding I can be doing. So I can always, I can always step away and sand something.
How important
Um,
is it that you do the hand sanding yourself?
oh, that's not quite as important. Depends,
Yeah.
it depends. There are certain stages like where the sanding really like shapes the form. Like
So you're
I'm
kind of
actually like
sculpting by sanding.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But other things I can have someone help me. So I had a couple of people helping me this summer sanding.
Nice.
So yeah, very grateful to them.
Maybe you could talk a bit about some of the marbling process. I feel like that's an element in your work that creates this whole extra layer.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I started marbling in like 2012 for a specific body of work, but like it's become its sort of own aspect in my work, like a major kind of player in my work. Yeah, like a lot of the wallpaper installations originate from marbled paper that I make, and where I'm like making marbled paper and using the collages to simulate like architecture and then enlarging that to the scale of the gallery. But sometimes I also marble like sculptural objects in my work. Um, and for the recent body of work, I've also been marbling kind of like tiles or small pieces of hydrocal that are like embedded in the sculptures. So yeah, marbling is interesting because it does have a really old tradition, like history, and yeah. So I'm sort of reference. Sorry. So I'm sort of referencing this tradition of marbling, but what appeals to it, what appeals to me about the marbling is the sort of element of chance that comes into play. Like I can't fully control what the marbling looks like. There's like a chance element of it to it. Does that make sense?
You're kind of removing your hand a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sort of relinquishing control a bit over the way that like the paint and the object work together. So, does that make sense?
Yes,
Maybe I should describe like what marbling is for people who don't
certainly.
even know what
Please.
we're talking about. So, when you're marbling, you basically create like a solution. The solution I use is a carrageenan, which is a seaweed. It's like a thickening agent. So I basically have like a vat full of carrageenan, usually like a tank. I've been like using large tanks for doing this. So it's like a thickened solution of like water. And then I'm like dropping paint on the surface. The paint floats because it's lighter than the carrageenan, and then I can manipulate the paint that's floating on the surface. And then more recently, I've been submerging objects, like casting objects in hydrocal and then submerging them in the marbling solution. So like the marbling is like, fluid paint that like wraps around the object. So there's something really weird that happens like as the marbled surface like transfers to the three-dimensional object. Um, and so lately I've been making tiles and other small tiles cast in hydrocal that are marbled and then adhered to the sculptures, so like embedded in the sculptures. So.
It's very useful. Thank you. I'm learning too. I there's a but that also I when you were describing that process, I was picturing and I can see why it's more clear why you might resonate with someone like Fra Angelico, who you can see the way he paints marble and the arches, that there's a connection there that I think is worth talking about.
Yeah, totally. So like marbling is like one thing, it's like decorative paper, but yeah, the tradition of like faux painted marble in throughout history is so fascinating to me. And once you start to recognize it, like in Rome, you'll realize so many surfaces inside the churches, like in Italy, are faux painted marble. It's amazing. I love picking out like the faux painted marble in churches. But yeah, especially like in Renaissance paintings, they're also simulating the look of marble. And I think I actually originally got interested in it because, I went to school in Savannah, and a lot of the Southern homes and like early colonial homes, they were simulating marble also. They were using a lot of faux marble to like simulate marble because they didn't have the resource for marble. They didn't have marble really in the early colonial America, so they were simulating it. So there were these like itinerant there were these itinerant painters who would travel around and like paint faux marble for people in their homes, which I think is so fascinating.
It's a kind of a nod to the culture you grew up in a sense.
Yeah, a little bit. And also this yeah, I think there's a few different aspects to it. It's like yeah, the trying to make something precious, like I like a precious the simulation of like a precious object. And then also like there's something like really American about trying to make something look like much nicer than it actually is, like, which I find hilarious, but I don't know.
I That reminds me of driving around Staten Island one time. We got not get lost, but we got diverted on the way back from work. And if you drive deep into Staten Island, there's these bizarre Romanesque mansions that have
Hmm.
columns and weird things, like Roman columns
Yeah.
and statues. And there is like a fascination with maybe it's the old country, like the rich people in the old country, a certain kind of taste, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and the people who the like people who sorry, the colonial mansions, like they really were trying to make their homes feel more like the wealth that they had in Europe, like in England. So I mean, that's why they were doing that. So
Yeah, we're really inheritors of the British culture. I really realized
yeah.
that fully going to London for the first time this past summer. How much of our culture is really, I mean, it's not, it's kind of a two-way street too, because I think they have a love for American junk food, but just the way that we live, our tastes, for better or worse,
Yeah,
right?
totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had a show in London a couple years ago.
Where was the
Yeah,
show?
it was
Oh,
fun.
nice. That's great.
It was at a gallery called Bose and Baum in Peckham. So it's like kind of like artsy neighborhood, like young galleries and stuff.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
You had a show with Peter Halley not too long ago, right?
It was quite a while ago, but yeah, we did a few different projects together. Yeah, I worked for Peter for a number of years also.
Did working for him influence your work at all?
Oh, I definitely think so. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I learned so much from Peter. Yeah. Yeah, we also developed like a really close relationship over that time. I worked for him for about 11 years. And yeah, I learned so much from Peter and helped him plan almost all of his shows and installations during that time. So I would work from with him on the planning the shows, like from the very beginnings of like planning the drawings all for the paintings all the way through like overseeing the installations. So yeah, I learned a lot. And yeah, I think philosophically we are very, very different people, but I love Peter. Like we have very different opinions about the world and stuff. So yeah. He's a hardcore postmodernist and I do not associate myself with that camp. So
How
yeah.
so?
Well, postmodernists like
Just in terms of meaning?
yeah, in terms of meaning and
Yeah.
like their reason for making art and yeah. Yeah, just the distrust of meta narratives Isn't that how we like define postmodernism?
Interesting. That's good. Distrust of meta. I love that. I never heard that put that way, but yeah, that's it. But it's important to, I think, have people that you disagree with on that level, because then you really see what your own views are. And just talking
Yeah.
to you, this is very enlightening for me because I had never really questioned my meta narrative, where I stand on meta narratives. But thinking
Well, I
about it,
think also they believe, like postmodernists believe in that they believe that truth is relative. And I don't believe that. I believe in a singular truth. I believe there's like one truth. Like I believe truth is truth. I don't believe truth is relative to your situation or your personal point of view or whatever. So, does that make
could you?
sense?
Yes, it does. But could you explain that further a little bit?
Um, well, like I think they believe that truth can change depending on like semantics and like how you talk about things or I'm not a postmodernist, so I'm not going to do a good job of explaining it, but like they believe that truth is relative. Like they believe that truth can be different for every person, and I don't believe that. I think there's one truth. So that makes
Can you
sense.
talk about the difference between truth and reality?
Um, well, I think a postmodernist would say that you can't really use any quantitative thing to like determine truth, like that it's all relative. Does that make sense? So but I think there's like certain inherent things, like you know how I was saying, like I believe there's like one God who's like a creator, who like created us. Like that would be like an a elemental truth that I think is true no matter what. Like, so no matter who comes into the conversation, that remains true. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I certainly agree. On a certain level, I think that there isn't moral relativity, for example. So I think
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at. Yeah.
maybe I could situate myself somewhere between postmodern and what was the other option? What was
Modern, I guess modernist would
I
be
get
the,
pre-modern,
I don't
or I
know.
don't
That's
know,
really, I
because
don't
maybe
know.
it's,
Yeah, what you
or
would say. Just classical thinking, I
I
think.
suppose, yeah, yeah. I think that there's, like everything, there's nuances, and everything there's. No, I agree. I agree with you there. I think falling into moral relativism is very dangerous. I think saying, oh
Yeah.
well, yeah, this person's suffering is this person's pleasure, so what's the difference? The most important thing is just having a structure in which you can be a good person. For example, I was watching a documentary about this monk, and they were asking him why, this young monk, and they were like, "Why did you why did you ordain?" And he said, "So I could be a good person." And at first I was like, well, that does,
Mhm.
you could just be a good person, but it's really hard. So I think having any structure, any spiritual structure, whatever the denomination is, if you're actually looking at it deeply and you're not falling into some weird hateful thing or whatever it is that can happen, but I think it can be very useful. Just having that should be simple, right? Just be a good person. Don't be, but it's very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think there's certain things that we're not able to do from our own like fleshly nature. Like just the body, the soul, the like from the soulish nature, like we're not capable of being like a good person without God's help. Like, and I think that that's like the relationship to the spirit that I think it's hard to explain, but like without God's help, like it's hard to forgive people. Like it's hard to to sacrifice certain aspects of your life, like for someone else. Like, you know what I mean? Um, maybe that's sort of what you're getting at.
Maybe it's a way, if you can find a way to relinquish the self. Maybe that's what it
Yeah.
is.
It's so funny that you we got to this point in the conversation because like when I was sort of like meditating on our that we were going to have this conversation and like this one thing came up and it's I mean it is Jesus talking. He says, "For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? So it's like this whole thing, it's like if you try to like hang on to your life and like the things that you care about so much, like you're gonna lose it all. Like and like, but if you like lay it down, you'll gain so much more. Like, do you know what I mean?
In real time, in the present, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about some future. I think you can't bargain with it. You can't bargain with, you can't say, "Oh, I'm gonna be rich and famous in heaven." Like it's not then. There's no
No.
there there. There's no there. It's here and now. It's like you can feel the direct
I
results.
think it's both. Yeah. I think it's both. Yeah. It's like it's here and now. And then it's also then and there.
But I
Like I
guess
think there
yeah, time isn't what we think. That's clear. We see our perception of time
Yeah.
is not accurate. We're starting to see that
Yeah.
everything kind of happens at once. Maybe that's more accurate than how we see things in the linear.
Yeah. And then sometimes the thing that you want the most and you think will be the best for you is actually like not the best thing for you. And it's actually like a blessing like when it doesn't happen and you just don't realize it yet. So,
Do you know Richard Tinkler, the painter?
yeah, I love Richard. He lives right next
Yeah.
door to me,
Oh, he
actually.
does. Oh, such a great
Yeah.
guy. He was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and we talked about. He said the more you want to sell a painting, the less likely it is to happen.
Oh yeah, the more confident you are, it's going to sell. It will not. And
Yeah, you
then
can.
the one
Yeah,
you think is like the worst is the thing that will sell first. It's like
yeah.
happened to me so many times. Yeah.
For one, there's no accounting for taste, I suppose, but also the more you want something. Like I remember thinking about that in terms of like an art career. I wanted it so badly. And then it was just like things weren't happening because I wanted it to be this way. You don't hold it so tightly and
Yeah.
you're happier. Things work out better.
Yeah, totally. I think also when you get that kind of like fuck it like attitude, like that's when you kind of make the best work, you know?
Yeah.
At least for
Yeah.
me, like when
Yeah.
I don't care about what other people think, like yeah, that's when it will kind of be the most authentic work. So,
But you can't trick yourself really with that. You have to really let go. I've been really slowing it down a lot. It's been really liberating because I've been looking back and I have like like a closet full of paintings. I was making 50, 50 paintings a year or something, like or less than that, but I was just
oh
recycling.
wow,
I mean, I was just like using the panels over and over and like just stretching the canvas or throwing the canvas away and then just making more paintings, which I think I had to do to get to the place where I was confident in making this new body of work now. But now maybe spend a couple months on a painting, just
that's
really
cool.
embed, and just really put as much just really love the process because if you're just trying to get through it, that's insane. You don't have to make art.
Yeah, and yeah, I think yeah, I made myself kind of a slave to my studio for a really long time. And there like yeah, the desire for a career was like the driving factor. And I think I've gotten to a point where like it's not that it's just not the most important thing to me now. It's like there are other things that are more important to me than my career. And it's taken me a really long time to get to that place, but it is pretty liberating.
Maybe it's a function of making art for a
Is it
certain amount
just
of
getting
time and
older?
getting older. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, we're old now. Yeah, but it's good. I feel so much
Yeah,
happier. I don't care what. I'm not trying to make a bunch of products to sell. I don't. I'm fortunately that I have a job that I can still be creative, still have enough free time, and I have a lot of my own
cool.
time, and so it's really a luxury. I don't have to sell anything.
That's great. Yeah.
That's a real gift. And then so actually for me, really not having a career in that sense, I think is such a gift because I wouldn't have made these weird ass paintings that I love to make if that was the case. I'd probably be doing something that I felt like I had to make to sell.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's really clear from an outsider's perspective. Like if there's an artist that you really like and then they start selling a lot and then you can tell when it becomes product. Like it's kind of, to me, I feel like it's kind of clear. Like there's a point where it crosses over to being like something they're producing to sell something.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
you
you
know?
can tell. Yeah, for sure. Which I don't
Yeah.
I mean they have to like
I'm
I
not condemning it at all. Like it's
yeah.
yeah, but it like you can tell and it just shifts the work is it's in the work. Like you can see it.
Oh
So
yeah, you could feel it. You could definitely feel it. And I worked for this artist. He's one of my best friends now in the city. And I
uh
remember working for him. He's had a show at Karma. He shows at Karma pretty regularly, and that's a great gallery,
mhm.
and it seems like they do
Yeah.
well. But his work is difficult to sell. And he's really an artist. He was expressing some frustration, like, why aren't people buying this stuff? Because he's, has these great shows and so forth. But I think in a way, it's sort of stretched him and he's had to really push it in all these ways and make different kinds of stuff and all this stuff that he probably wouldn't make otherwise if he was just selling the same kind of stuff. But also he was the kind of guy that wasn't interested in like making a product like that. He was always exploring different things and it's great. It is really useful for younger artists that happen to be listening to this. It's great to work for an older artist who you can see how they work.
Yeah, totally. And even just seeing like the behind the scenes, like all the conversations with the galleries and studio visits and budgets and all of that. Like it's really like I learned so much working for Peter. Yeah, I was often the in-between person where Peter would be upset about something or telling me something, and I would translate that into something that I can communicate to like a printer or like a fabricator. Yeah. I was a like a nav in-between person, intermediary person a lot.
It's really useful to learn how to navigate those spaces and to see the process, what it really is. And I think it demystifies it in a very healthy way. Looking out, like I'm sure when you were in grad school, you had your heroes that you looked at and you're like, oh man, it must be so cool. Like contemporary artists that they got it made, man. They got this show and that show and they're really doing it. But if you go and see the actual what the texture of their life is like, it's not that much different. They still have, concerns
Oh
and
yeah,
problems.
totally. You still have to chop wood and carry water. Isn't that
Exactly.
the
That's it.
term?
Yeah, before Satori, chop wood, carry water. After Satori, chop wood, carry water. That's good. That's it. Do you have some shows you're working on right now?
I have a show coming up at a gallery called Gallery PJ in Metz, France, and that will be in April. And I think it will be like small sculptures and drawings. So that's what I'm working on. About to get started on that. And yeah, maybe a couple of other like small projects, but nothing major. But yeah, kind of percolating on new work. So yeah,
That's great. I think you have a really respectable career arc. You've been consistently having
oh,
shows, making work.
thanks. Yeah. No, I feel so grateful for all the like gallerists I've worked with and like people who really support me, like Rebecca at Picture Theory. She's been super supportive and like we've been developing a good relationship and Chris Worley in Dallas. So I've sort of developed these relationships with really great people that I'm very happy with.
Is that
So
Rebecca
yeah.
Kim?
Yeah, Rebecca Kim.
Yeah, we worked
Yeah.
together back years ago at Werner.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool.
10 or 15 years ago is one of my first jobs in the
Oh,
city.
wow.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
great.
cool. She is awesome. I love her. Yeah, so she's been super supportive and we'll continue. I had a show with her last year, but we've been talking about some other things coming up. So, yeah.
So you'll do another.
Yeah, probably or fairs or something. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But
I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable by pressing you on spiritual ideas,
spiritual
but
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
No, not at all. It's good for me. I like it's something I've had dreams about about clearing the throat, like not being afraid to talk and like yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
good. It's good. I mean,
I get nervous talking about spiritual things because I think I'm afraid I'll be ridiculed or like I don't know. I don't know.
I think things are changing now a little bit. I think people are less sure in a good way. I think people are less confident that things aren't,
They have all the answers.
at least I've seen this. Maybe this is also a function of getting older, but I've seen less, a little more open-minded on those terms. I think when you're younger, you're like, I know how it is. It's like this, but
Yeah.
I don't know, and I think
Yeah.
nobody knows.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I mean, just looking around and I know myself, like a lot of people are really depressed and anxious and like obsessed with like the news and like all the things and like I don't really know that I mean they don't have to be. I don't really know if they know that like there's another way to be or something. Like if they change their
Yeah.
perception of like spiritual things, like maybe I don't know.
I talk about this constantly about consciousness being permeable, but if you're in a certain society and everybody is looking at the news, that anxiety, that energy is transmitted to you, and so you kind of tap into it. But I think being very conscious of that and just not looking at the news is helpful. You're going to still absorb that energy from the people around you, but
Totally.
you can your calmness and your not feeding into that is definitely helpful. Like I have to constantly catch myself not feeding into somebody else's anxiety. It's not easy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Um, you think people are more open to spiritual things these days? Do you think it's
Oh yeah.
changed?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I mean, because especially because there's all this emerging information about how healthy it is. Do you know the blue zones? There's a good documentary on Netflix. It's referring to places that where the people live the longest. And
Mm,
so there's one place that they look at all the factors. One place is Okinawa, a place in Italy, a place in I can't remember where else, but there's also a community in Loma Linda, California, because they're
interesting.
because there's a group of their this town is basically they're all seventh day Adventists.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so they have a very specific diet where it's mostly vegetarian, healthy, fresh food, strong social connections. But there's all these factors that feed into it. They're seeing that one component is spirituality. So I think
Mm,
having a strong spiritual life, whatever that means to you, having a strong social life is incredibly important. People they're seeing that all cause mortality decreases significantly if you have strong social connections. But this is a component of having a strong spiritual life. You're going to be healthier, happier. But so for people to have a structure seems to be useful.
that's cool. That's interesting to think about. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I think also if you like care, it like something about being having a relationship with like God or like spiritual relationship to something like bigger than yourself. Like it changes your perception of yourself. Like I don't know, like you might be less likely to like indulge in things or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, less likely to stop in McDonald's on the way back from the strip club.
Yeah, or like try to drink your sorrows away or very, all the things like, yeah.
Yeah, and all that stuff has to do with the ego. It all
Yeah,
has to do
totally.
with satisfying this. And I really the whole, I mean, if you really think about it deeply, basically most of the culture is a monument to some craving.
Oh yeah, people get stuck in it. They develop like bondage to it. They become like slaves to their own like cravings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult because you can do that on even with healthy stuff. Like I gotta have my green smoothie and I gotta have my exercise, and I that's kind of where I'm at right
Yeah.
now. Like I'm in
Mm.
the health zone where like I gotta because it just feels good. I want to work out. I gotta have my workout and I gotta have my stretch and the ice bath and stuff like this. But if you really look at it deeply, that maybe that's another function of craving. Basically, everything.
Yeah.
What's the quote about suffering being optional? Pain is not optional, but suffering is something like that.
Oh, interesting.
How are you looking at the thing? Do you want to escape it? Or are you just being with it? And this is what's basically that's fundamentally what's taught in these Theravadan monks. Speaking of consciousness being permeable, when I go to this monastery, you feel the peace just on a consciousness level. These people that are putting
Yeah.
so much into their cultivation of awareness, it's inspiring.
Yeah. It's not quite the same thing, but Nicholas and I did that um um sorry, the artist residency in the Southwest, like in Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh yeah,
And
I
it
meant to ask
was
you about that.
it's okay. The only reason I bring it up is because there's something really interesting like about being down there because you're not like inundated with so many people and you have like a lot more space for your thoughts, but there's something psychic about it too, or like conscious about it too, that you're just not inundated with all these other people, like their intensity or something. I don't know how to explain it. Like it's like similar to what you're saying, like that feeling of it being peaceful or like you're the psychic, like I don't know how to
It's the
explain it.
no, you I can totally understand. It's like it's the absence of the agitate someone else's agitation in the on a consciousness level.
Yeah. Yeah, on a consciousness level. So like even sitting in your house like feels different than sitting in your house in Brooklyn or something. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
100%, 100%, of course. Of course. And
Yeah,
did that
so
ex did besides that, do you think that Did that experience change your work as well of having that? It was a year long, right?
Yeah, I think it sped up some things in my personal psyche. I don't know if that makes sense. I had a lot of time to explore spiritual things and went down some bad paths and scared myself pretty much. And when I got back to New York, I was really depressed and in a really bad place, like mentally, like in a really, really bad place and like addicted to weed. I mean, I was always kind of like a daily smoker, but while we were in Roswell, it got really bad. Um, and then I had this like basically like an encounter with God and he like saved me from all that. And then I was able to like quit weed like overnight basically. I like went from being like a daily smoker, like addicted to being like to stopping completely. So
Hmm.
but I think I had gotten to that kind of that dark place kind of because we were in Roswell and I had all this time to sort of explore spirit. I don't even want to use the word like spiritual because it wasn't even spiritual. It was like I don't know how to explain it. I'd just gotten to a dark place, and yeah, I think it just sped up. I think it's like something that would have happened individually, but it sort of sped things up. If that
Gotcha.
makes sense.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we talked about not using substances, and I think did you or
Yeah.
I mentioned the Alan Watts quote where he says, generally, when you get the message, you hang up the phone.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah, like psychedelics and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I like, and I don't even, so like the message I got from psychedelics was a deception or something. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I think I did, I had a lot of experiences and like entities and all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff on psychedelics. So like I did sort of get the message, but like I think that message is really actually was more confusing than the truth. I think the message and the truth are something two different things. Does that make sense?
But maybe you needed the
I
contrast.
needed to get to, I think I did. Yeah,
Hmm.
I needed to see the depths of whatever that was. Yeah, like encounters with these like um I don't know, alien beings, like demonic beings. I mean, I
What's
think they were demons. So
well,
I'm
yeah. Wait, do you know the via negativa? Do you know what that is?
mm-mm,
It's like I think it was an
mm-mm.
idea among Christian monks initially of basically you don't know what God is, but you know what it's not. So it's like the
Yeah.
way of the inverse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, the reality of darkness. Yeah, I think that I've heard a lot of people like kind of like come to like a belief in God because they experience evil. Like they experience evil and realize that that is real, that if evil is real, then God must be real. So like yeah, I think that's sort of the experience I had. This is the sort of thing I'm like, if I say this out loud, people are gonna think I'm absolutely
Nah, they
nuts.
don't care. Nobody's gonna listen to this anyway.
Okay, well that
That's
makes me feel a lot better.
no, okay. They might. I don't know who's gonna. But that's my sort of like we're so saturated with stuff now, and this is a way in which it's good in that you can say whatever you want, you can express whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, that makes me feel a lot better. I mean, I know I like yeah, I'm really interested in spiritual things and I want to hear about people's like experiences and stuff. So, well, be my guest to use it if
Well,
you
thank you, thank you.
yeah, I'll just say like yeah, when we were in Roswell, I did a really high dose mushroom trip on my own. Like I want to say like almost 4 grams or like 3.8 grams or something. Which is kind of a lot
Ooh,
for
that's a lot.
me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it because I wanted to have an experience. Like I wanted to, and I did it by myself, just laying flat on my bed. Like not like yeah. Um yeah. Yeah, not Terrence McKenna style 5 grams in silent darkness, but almost
Well, close enough. Yeah.
close enough. Yeah, and I don't really recommend people to do this, but I guess yeah, for what it's worth, I had this experience and I with these mantis beings that pretty much terrified me. that was, I think that's what I needed to see. Like I needed to experience it for myself. So yeah, I don't know if you've heard of the mantis beings or you've encountered
No,
them.
no, I haven't.
Oh, really? Are you sure?
No,
Really?
yeah, well, maybe no,
Oh,
I don't think I have.
it's like a common experience on psychedelics. I think especially in like with DMT that people have these encounters with these beings that are mantises. I mean, what I saw were they were mantis beings, but they were like 7 or 8 feet tall, wearing cloaks, like a cloaked robe. No. Yeah, in a garden. Yeah, it was terrifying.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. I know I saw some elves once.
Oh, really?
the old machine
Yeah,
elves.
the
They're
machine
just
elves.
working on you and all that, just with little hammers or whatever that is. I saw them on my skin at a ceremony,
Ah,
just kind of like working away. Nothing,
and
nothing
ayahuasca.
nefarious. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
they were just kind of like doing their thing, and they weren't harmful.
The thing like no one yeah, I think Carl Jung said beware of unearned wis Carl Jung said beware of unearned wisdom, which I think is really true. Uh you can have a much more like powerful, authentic experience like with God just without any substances. Like you don't need to do like you don't need the drugs, which I've learned now. And I've had encounters with God, full visions, multiple times in my life where God has like shown himself and like showed up for me and like I had like experience with him that were much better.
Nareem Karoli Baba, do you know Ram Dass's guru? He talks about him a lot.
Mm-mm.
He said that when you take
Oh
psychedelics,
yeah, of course. Yes. Yes.
yes, when you take psychedelics, you step into the same room with Christ and the Buddha, but you can only stay for a few minutes.
Well, I hear you. I think the truth from my perspective, the truth of that is that there is a spiritual realm that you can gain access to, but I think the access you gain access illegally when you're using drugs, and there's no safety net. Whereas like the encounters I've had with God through like the Holy Spirit, it's like it's fully loving. It's like it's him. It's his glory, like his persona, like manifests, and it's fully safe. It's like it's okay. The thing when you're on drugs, it's like you have no filter for what is good and what is bad. And I personally believe that there is a truth to this spiritual realm, and I do believe there are good and bad entities and that do deceive and can deceive you like when you're on drugs. So that's been my experience. Yeah.
I think I mentioned I was working on a series of paintings about that are based on various enunciations from historical paintings.
I know. I wanted to ask you about your Annunciation painting. It was so beautiful. The one you posted recently.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for saying so. I
Cool.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the idea of it is that there are these beings that are giving you a message. There's some message being transmitted,
Yeah.
and you don't really know what the message is or who the entities are necessarily.
Yeah.
And I think we're in that place as a culture. You think about AI, aliens, and there's a real sense of fear. And I think all through the Bible, at least according to Clinton King, he says that the most used phrase in the Bible is "Be not afraid." And
That's true. Yeah.
is that true?
Yeah,
Interesting. And so
that's true.
that's fascinating to me because I was looking up that segment, of course, in whatever I can't remember the chapter and verse that the enunciation happens,
hmm
but
Luke. It's in
Luke
Luke, the
Luke
beginning of
1, right?
Luke. Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably. Yeah.
the angel says, "Be not afraid," and I'm just, whoa, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
What do the aliens say when they come?
Well, can we talk about angels really quick first?
Sure.
Well, so angels, like the word angel means messenger. Angelos in Greek means messenger. So angels, that is their primary role for some angels is to bring messages to humans from God, from the throne room to the humans. Like, yeah. But it also, yeah, but it also says that Satan's like messengers can disguise themselves as angels of light. So there's deception. There's like a level of deception that without the Holy Spirit, like you might not be able to tell between the angel of light, like that's good or one that's from God, one that's not. you know?
That's basically, have you read the Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie?
No, no,
It
no.
is so good. It is a masterpiece. It's funny. It's not at all what you think. It's not at all what you think. But basically
Yeah,
that's the whole idea is that these angels had deceived the Prophet Muhammad and that's why there
yeah,
was a fatwa against him and all this stuff. But that is
that's
fascinating
cool.
what you say though about angel being messenger because what I've just been so fascinated with I think we all are as a culture. What are aliens and where are they from? Who are they and who are
Yeah.
angels? We're looking for some message from another realm.
Yeah, I think somewhere inside of us, like we know there's a spiritual element to life, and like we know that there's a realm beyond this, and like we're looking for some sign of it. And some people will, it says like they're blinded, like the veil is closed for them. But for other people, like the veil is being lifted. I've seen
Mhm.
angels, like, but it's usually in my mind's eye, like and it's usually like a flash, like it happens like I know they're there for a split second, and then I sense their presence, but like I don't fully see them, like it's in my mind's eye. That's only happened once or twice, but I have had them show up in dreams. And the way that angels are depicted in like Renaissance paintings is like not the type of angel that I've experienced in dreams. Like in my dreams that I've had where an angel shows up, they're usually like about like 8 to 10 feet tall and they are like gigantic muscular men. Like wearing full armor. Like not like metal armor, but like it almost looks like Roman armor, like with like the kilt. That's the way I've seen angels. Like they're like warrior angels.
Wow, amazing. Do they have wings?
No, 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 no. No,
Wow.
they look like large men. I've had that happen at least twice. And then I also had another dream with an angel who was like he was wearing a tunic. Like he didn't have he was my size, but he was like I think there are different angels with different roles and like some are warrior angels, some are like angels or scribe angels. This was more like a messenger. He was my size and he was wearing like a tunic, like a long
Do they have
striped
faces?
tunic. Yeah, he looked like a man.
Like
Yeah.
just human faces with
Yeah.
armor,
Hmm.
but with armor with like sort of Roman Greek
Yeah.
style armor. Wow.
The giant ones were
The
like
big
that.
ones do,
Yeah.
and the other ones just have like a tunic. Wow,
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
I saw a fairy with boots once.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that were you on
Mhm.
drugs
Yeah,
or
I was on acid.
okay. All
But I
right.
did see him. Really, I did.
Yeah, that's
My
cool.
brother and I both saw this. It was a fairy with boots.
Oh,
I
that's
swear.
so funny.
It was.
Yeah, no, I believe you. I believe
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you. Um, yeah, those angels that I saw twice were in dreams, and then one time when I was in the hospital. So I like, yeah, so pretty weird. Yeah, not
Weird.
something I go around telling people all the time.
No, but it's fascinating to
But
me because I've been so interested in like who are they? Are they interdimensional beings and what I think that we're just
well, if they're
so
from God, they're messengers from the throne room, literally from the seat of God. Like he will send his representatives. Yeah, for
yeah, but
sure.
that's so abstract,
Well, I think this is the thing that like
isn't it?
I've realized like well, what do you mean abstract?
I mean, it has to come from somewhere. Can it manipulate time and space in a way that we're just like are we two-dimensional to them?
I think they hold us in more regard than that because we're made in the image of God. Like so that we are sort of a mystery to them because they are made for God's service. Like they this is my belief, like and this is like the Christian belief, like that they're made for God to enact God's will, like to carry out God, missions that God gives them. But I think we're made in the image of God, so we represent God on earth in the physical, and so we're sort of a mystery to them. So I think they actually revere us in a way that
Hmm.
they hold we hold a different sort of relationship to God than they do. You know what I'm saying? They're soldiers. Like that's basically what, except for the ones who are fallen, there are fallen angels who are like in the kingdom of darkness. But like the angels who worship God, like they don't have the same sort of like free will. that we do. Their mission is to serve God. Like that's what they're doing. So like I don't think they look at us sort of differently because we're made in the image of God, like in the same, yeah, does that make sense?
Well, Lauren, there's a lot of directions we could take this, but we have to stop at some point. So before we end, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, not really. It was really fun talking with you and fun talking about all the ins and outs of studio life.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Thank you for sharing, and I really appreciate it. I
sure.
feel like I really got a sense of the quality, the texture, a deeper look into your work. It's been a privilege, so thank you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm so glad. Thank you.
Of course.